Well, greetings and welcome to Alpha Bravo Pinball. I'm Andre, and today on the program, what's new in the world of Alpha Bravo Pinball? First, I've got a couple of upgrades that I've done to my Godzilla machine. These are Spike 2 upgrades that you can do to any Stern Spike 2 machine. I'll tell you all about those. And in a collection update, yep, Twilight Zone is gone. After all the back and forth, getting one, selling it, getting a second one, it's gone again. I'll tell you why. And I've actually canceled my pre-order for the game that was supposed to replace it, Pulp Fiction. I'll tell you why. What's going on there too. What are possible candidates to replace it? I'll tell you my thoughts on Stern's new X-Men and JJP's new Avatar game. With all that said, let's get started. All right, let's talk about some Spike 2 upgrades. Firstly, sound. If you've ever owned a Stern pinball machine, you know that they are decidedly not hi-fi. It's not the source material, the software, the sounds that are built into the code of the game, super high quality. But then when it comes time to outputting that sound to the real world, well, you've got a bottleneck with the sound system that they put in the games. Even their LE games, which have slightly better speakers, it's still not great. One of the first upgrades that I always do to my games is install better speakers. Typically, I use Flipper Fidelity speakers. I really like that brand. All good, and typically that's the end of that. On my Godzilla machine, however, the game would periodically make this horrible noises out of the cabinet speaker. Some people that are way smarter than me have figured out this problem, that the LEDs that illuminate the back box on Stern machines of that era, those LEDs are very, very close to the amplifier chip on the CPU board, and that can cause the amp chip to kind of overheat, and it just makes these awful noises. So I've also heard, just reading the forums, that even without this problem, replacing the amplifier in your game can make a huge difference to the sound and make your sound better. So I was kind of curious anyway, and I figured, well, this is the perfect opportunity. Two birds, one stone here. Replace the amplifier, hopefully solve the clipping cabinet speaker problem, and see what all the fuss is about with these amplifiers. So I saw the PinSound PINBLASTER product, which is a really, really neat board that kind of sits. The form factor is designed to kind of fit as a daughter board onto the Stern CPU board. It's super cool, super well designed. And of course, there's a big hole in the middle so that it doesn't block the LEDs from lighting up your back glass. Installation is super, super easy. You just disconnect a few connectors from the CPU board. You pop it right into the connectors. If you've got the Stern headphone jack, no problem. That plugs right into the board that you add in. So it retains compatibility with all your existing audio accessories. And boom, it's just like transformative sound. It's so much better. So yes, of course, my cabinet clipping, this bypasses the Stern amp completely, so no more horrible noises out of the cabinet amp, and it's just the sound is so much better. Like, I'm hearing things in the game that I've never heard before. So especially for me, for music games, like, I'm not gonna lie, I ordered a second one and I put it in Rush. Like, the sound is so good, even though I didn't have any cabinet clipping sounds in that game. It really is a huge upgrade. I wouldn't say that it's as big of a delta going from the Stern speakers to good speakers, but like, if that is 100% upgrade, it's another 50% upgrade solidly, at least, to replace your amplifier. So can highly recommend the PinSound board. 2 thumbs up on that product. Next, let's talk about speaker lights. If you've watched my past videos, you've seen that I've done an aftermarket speaker light upgrade to my Rush machine. That was the Pixel Wave product, which I thought was just brilliant. It was really great. And in that product, the speaker lights mirrored the expression lights built into the game. Now, what about Godzilla? Again, there's no expression lights supported from the factory in the cabinet in that game. Stern put out a new product that is they're of course their own speaker lights. They got to get in on the action here of people paying money for speaker lights. I'm one of them, sorry. And of course, the advantage of the Stern kit is it's the only way to get game controlled, like CPU controlled lighting that's designed for the game. All the other products, they're playing generic light patterns or whatnot. They're not tied into the software of the game. And so as soon as Stern put this out, I jumped all over it. I had high hopes that the speaker light animations would be well integrated into the game. There's a lot of potential there, but I have to say, not two thumbs up on this one, folks. A couple of reasons. Well, first, let's talk about the lights themselves. Unfortunately, the design of the lights themselves is just not as good as like the Pixel Wave lights from Pinwoofer. You can see the individual, reflection of the individual LEDs in the glass of the game. It's just, it's the diffuser is just not well done. I ended up getting an aftermarket diffuser for the Stern speaker light upgrade. It's just like, it's crazy. It's an upgrade for an upgrade, like a mod for a mod. Like what? Like, okay, but that makes it slightly better. At least you can't see the individual dot, LED reflections in the glass anymore. But I think where I'm doubly disappointed is, and I just said, the whole point of this system is that you can make game-controlled light patterns, game-controlled animations tied into the software of the game. And at least for Godzilla, at least at the time of recording of this video, mid-November 2024, they've just kind of done a half-assed job, I'm sorry to say, with the light pattern animations in the game. They're not great. You go into the destruction jackpot mode in Godzilla where all of the lights, it's the super high pressure moment. All the lights turn red, and they didn't even bother coding in the speaker lights. Like the speaker lights just keep doing what they're doing, like spinning yellow. Like what? This makes zero sense. I really, really hope that, they had to rush it. They had to get this product out, and that with time will come game code updates to make this better, because at the moment it's too much money for what you get. I think that I was way more impressed with the Pinwoofer Pixel Wave product, and I would not recommend this product at the time. But let's see. There's definitely potential for, at least for this part of my complaint, to address this through software updates. So we'll see where Stern goes with this product. All right, folks, it's time for a collection update. Like I said in the intro, Twilight Zone is gone. After all the drama, having the game, selling it, regretting it, buying another one, I've sold it again. I've done it again. Am I going to regret it and have to get a third one? I don't know. The reason was, the first time I owned the game and I streamed it, this was like peak pandemic times. I was doing streaming, just starting out. I could not get to Lost in the Zone. I tried to do it on stream just before I sold the game, and I failed to do it. And I feel like there's something there. Like I had to do it. I had to get it on video. I wanted to play the game some more. I didn't have it long enough. Bought the game again, and the second time through, I owned the game for longer. I got to the point where I could get to the wizard mode maybe every second game, every third game. And of course, setup is everything. I could open up the outlanes and make the game harder, but I didn't want to ruin it for everyone else that came to the house. And, I'm not a stellar player or anything. The fact of the matter is, Twilight Zone is really a two-shot game. You shoot the ramp piano, ramp piano, ramp piano all day long, and boom, there's the wizard mode. And once you can just dial in those shots and avoid everything else that's dangerous, it really does come down to those two shots. When I bought Whitewater, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't really know too much about the game. And of course, I had Whitewater and Twilight Zone. I only have so much space for games. I have to sell a game to be able to fit a new one. And for both the money and the space, I just can't hoard them all. It's not healthy, as much as part of me would like to. But anyway, I thought I would sell Whitewater first, but here's the thing. Whitewater, every time you play it, those yellow arrows are in a different spot. Whereas you play every game of Twilight Zone is kind of the same. It's ramp piano all day long. And sure enough, there's the multi-balls in there. The multi-balls are really fun. Listen, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a great game. I guess my advice to you, the viewer, is if you don't want to like a classic 1990s Bally Williams game anymore, go watch like the tournament strategy on these games, because a lot of them really it'll ruin the game for you. If you're playing the game, if you want to have fun, play the game for the modes, play the game for the story, etc. Way more fun than the optimal scoring strategy, because that was the nail in the coffin for me. Was just like the wizard mode is just too easy to get to. When I was filming, I tried to record a really great game from my last video and have that on tape. I had to get to Lost in the Zone 3 times. One, I had a camera glitch in one take, and then the second, the ball got stuck. It was super awkward. Like, I'm in the middle of my game and the ball got stuck. It's like, that's a bummer. I can't use this one. And it's like, well, like I said, the first time I owned the game, I couldn't get it at all. And now, I'm not even a better player. I guess I just learned to optimize more for getting to Lost in the Zone. And that was it for me. I mean, I had to make space because I had an incoming game anyway. That incoming game, by the way, was Pulp Fiction. It was supposed to be anyway. I put down a pre-order for Pulp Fiction. It's so cool that Chicago Gaming and the other company of Playtronics, I think that they're working with, like the first original custom creation manufactured by Chicago Gaming. After having done the remakes, which of course I'm a big fan of, I think the remakes are really amazing quality machines. It was super exciting to see that they would make a custom game for the first time. And the single level, like even better. Like I think it's just so cool that it's different than all the other kind of modern games that, every new modern game is different from one another. But a game with no ramps that's single level is more different, I think is fair to say, right? So I was very excited about it. I put in my money on day one, pre-order. This was like March of 2023. And, it's just been this long waiting game since, with very, very little basically no communication from Chicago Gaming, which is kind of sad. I've been working with a really great distributor, but, the distributor can only tell you what they're hearing from Chicago Gaming, and it's basically been just radio silence for way too long. The deposit was unfortunately non-refundable. I totally, understand the distributor, like the money's at Chicago Gaming. I don't have it. Like, there's nothing they can do. It's just kind of crazy to me that they can hold on to your money for so long. Like, there's literally no provision for, like, if we don't deliver the game in a year or year and a half or whatever it is, like, we'll give you your deposit money back. Like, nope, that's it. Like, they take your deposit money, and then you are waiting for potentially unlimited amount of time. And my enthusiasm for the game, sadly, as delay after delay, my enthusiasm for the game has just kind of whittled away. I've been playing the game at a local place near me, Game on Pinball. It's an amazing place to play. It's a fun game. I like it. Maybe at some point in the future, maybe I'll buy a used one. Josh Sharp himself is, on record on the forum saying, like, if you don't want to wait, like, don't buy one. So sorry, Josh, but that's exactly what I've done here. It makes me so sad. But it's just like, I can't keep a spot, keep the money reserved for this game. That's just like, who knows when it's coming. It's like every 2 months. Oh no, it's another 2 months down the line. It's just like, at a certain point, just like that's it for me. So it's time to move on. Emotionally, space-wise, money-wise, it's time for me to move on and get something else. Life's too short to wait forever for a game that may or may never come. We'll see what happens. So then, what could replace it? Well, it's not like there's no other choices. We're living in a golden era. It's incredible the amount of games, these quality, really great games coming out by all different manufacturers. So burden of choice here, folks. Let's talk about the latest releases from Stern and Jersey Jack. We'll start with Jersey Jack and Avatar. I had the pleasure of playing the game, a brand new game, just out of the box, again at Game on Pinball here in San Jose. And what a spectacular game. Just for initial impressions, walking up to it, it's incredible. Like, it's the artwork is absolutely fantastic. Absolute world under glass. They knocked it out of the park in that department. With the mini play fields, and just how tied in it is to the theme, to the movies, the sound, the music. It's just an absolutely stunning game. On the plus side too, the layout is just totally original. It shoots like nothing else. I think it's just really, really neat to again to see a game by a new designer. I talked about Foo Fighters in past videos and how that was a new designer. Here again, we have a new designer working at Jersey Jack. This is his first game, and it's really, really cool to see something different. Much, much appreciated. I really like that the game has a bunch of different types of shots. There's some close shots, some far shots. There's 4 flippers on the game, some targets, lots of ramps, some lanes. It's got a good variety of shots, which is also a huge plus in my book. Now on to the negatives. Unfortunately, there are some things that are not perfect about this game. I think the layout is different and that's really cool, but there's something a little bit off feeling about this layout in my opinion. Those orbit shots, which are really important in the game, they feed the lock for the multi-ball. They're incredibly razor thin in terms of width. They almost, if you look at the shot from the flippers, they look unmakeable. They're not. Of course, you absolutely can make both sides, but they're very, very difficult. Like a casual player walking up to this game has basically no chance of making the orbit shots. Back to Twilight Zone just for a second here. It was said that the lock shot on Twilight Zone, if you remember, for the gumball, loading the gumball machine, is the right orbit. Way 50 times easily than the right orbit on an Avatar. It was said back in the day that shot was difficult for casual players on Twilight Zone, and is one of the reasons why the game didn't do as well on route. Man, if that sunk Twilight Zone, then Avatar's in deep trouble. I mean, the reality is, of course, the pinball market is very different nowadays, catering more to enthusiasts and more experienced players. So, I'm sure Jersey Jack's going to be fine with this game, but they are very, very difficult and not in a good way. In a similar vein, I think from the upper flippers, there's 2 flippers at the top and back end of the game. They're kind of weird and awkward. If I can't think of a better way to describe it. Like, awkward's probably the way to say it. They don't really shoot too much in terms of, like, there's very limited number of shots you can make with them. The shots are also very close. The top right flipper in particular, you make this shot and it's like you can't even see the ball go by. There's a wire form that feeds that top flipper, and it's basically impossible to aim. The ball is coming by so fast, and you're shooting a thing that's like a couple of inches away. It's kind of weird. I would contrast that upper flipper design with, like, Foo Fighters. Again, I've talked about it in the past. Foo Fighters has one of the best upper flippers of any game ever. It has just a wide variety of shots, ramp, loop, drop targets. They're easy to see. They're makeable. They shoot smoothly. You can actually aim them. Totally opposite end of the spectrum in terms of, like, first-rate upper flipper design on Foo Fighters. So unfortunately, Avatar is at the other end of the spectrum there. And lastly, I'll mention on the not so great side, Jersey Jack is still using a super low quality display on their game. It's really unfortunate. The Stern displays are smaller, but they look a million times better. The display on Avatar, it's just the same that we've seen in the last few releases from Jersey Jack, which is a huge downgrade from the screens that they used on their original run games. The very early Wizard of Oz, etc. That display, same size, but was just way better quality. This display on this game, again, just fresh out of the box, brand new game. The colors are completely washed out. The black level is terrible. Like, I expect way better for $12,000+. It's kind of ridiculous. I would far prefer a smaller display if it makes it higher quality. And I mean, the thing that just makes that display on Avatar look so bad is the saturation in the rest of the game. Like, there's just such rich colors in the artwork, rich colors in the backglass around the display. It's not doing that display any favors because you put it next to all these super vibrant colors, and yeah, it just looks awful. And it's such a shame because the software design is huge success on the game. I think that all the movie clips and the UI, like, it looks beautiful. You're just kind of putting it on a really crappy display. So I don't know if I was buying one of these, which, spoiler alert, I'm not, but if I were, I would definitely look for an upgraded display to put in the game. Just too much money, folks. I mean, pinball is ridiculous enough as it is, and Jersey Jack, in terms of what they're asking, it's just too much for me. I can't fathom spending that much money on a pinball machine. Maybe when they're used. I can't say that the theme appeals to me. greatly either. I mean, the Avatar movies are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They're good movies, but I'm not the world's biggest Avatar fan. So in terms of theme appeal, it's not there for me. That hasn't stopped me in the past, though. I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla either, but it's one of the greatest pinball machines ever made, and so of course I have one and I love it, and I think the theme is just great. And so maybe Avatar is lacking a little bit in the humor department. I like games that have certain amount of humor to it, and that's also part of detracting from the theme for me. But overall, great game. I think it's awesome to see a game from a new designer. A totally unique game, whole package, world under glass. It's great. So I will definitely put a bunch of coins in it on location. I can't wait to go back to Game On Pinball and play it some more. And who knows, maybe when it's used and it's cheap, like I won't say no, but it's certainly not a game that I would buy new in box. All right, next from Stern, we have the Uncanny X-Men from designer Jack Danger. His third game after, the home game, Jurassic Park, the home edition of Jurassic Park, and then Foo Fighters. Now we have his third game, X-Men. The good on this game, kind of like I just said about Avatar, totally unique, totally like something we've never seen before. Crazy layout, absolutely beautiful game. Zombie Yeti smashed it out of the park with the artwork again. I think it's just, you walk up to it and it's an incredible looking game. It has all like a million ramps. It's just bonkers. It shoots like nothing else. Multiple crossover shots. I think that, Stern will tell you in their videos promoting the game that the ball will do things you've never seen it do in pinball before. Absolutely true. 100%. Yep. I'm with you. This is really, really cool. Another one of my favorite features on the game is the Danger Room. So this is a 3-flipper game. Unlike most games where the third flipper or the fourth flipper is kind of up top, near the back of the playfield, on this one, you have a non-standard bottom, which means that the layout of the slingshots and the flippers, that whole area close to you as a flipper, is different, which is great. It's been far too long since we've seen a game with a non-standard bottom. So I applaud Stern completely for taking a chance and doing this. I think it's great. The coolest thing about it, so you've got 3 flippers close to you. There's this whole section on the lower left called the Danger Room. And you've got 3 flippers that are all kind of in your peripheral vision. The challenge with a third flipper that's, back at the back of the game is it's very hard to see it, to be looking at it and looking at the 2 flippers down close to you at the same time, which of course is part of the fun of, it's challenging, so it's fun, right? But, every game does that. There's like all third flippers are up there. So it's really cool to see something different here where you have 3 flippers, but you can actually see, kind of keep an eye on all 3 at the same time. And when you get a ball that's in the Danger Room during multi-ball with balls, by the main flippers, that's just something we haven't seen in a really long time, and I think it's super cool. So well done, Stern, on that. I think that's awesome. I also like the fact that they have pop bumpers kind of not in a nest at the back of the game. I mean, it's been overdone, right? There's so many games that have pop bumpers in a nest behind ramps or whatever, and they just kind of, the ball dribbles out. And yeah, it's not exciting anymore. It's been done too many times. On this game, they put pop bumpers closer to you, sends the ball wild. Yes, I love it. I think that's also super, super cool. I hope to see more of that in the future as well. Now on to the things I don't like as much about X-Men. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect game. It's a very, very ramp heavy game. I feel like this game does not have the shot variety that I would like to see. Shot variety that you see on other games with shots that are close, shots that are far, different types of shots, targets, drop targets, ramps, other types of shots. It's almost all just ramps. But it gets worse, unfortunately. A lot of the ramps just don't seem to work well on the game. I've played 2 copies of the game at this point, and on both of them, it's just like there's too many times where you nail your shot, and either a crossover shot or a shot that, behind the sentinel that feeds a wire form that feeds a ramp. You nail your shot, you get it perfectly, good speed, and something goes wrong, and the ball clunks around and just kind of dribbles out. This seems to be a pattern with this game. It's certainly possible I've just gotten unlucky, but from word of mouth, talking to friends that have also played different copies of the game, I don't think I'm alone in this experience playing Uncanny X-Men, unfortunately. And that's just kind of a bummer for the game. So hopefully this is something they can tweak. They can, send out kits for addressing, ball guys or whatever, but the crossover shots are hard. The ball is literally flying on the playfield to, make it across to a crossover shot. So I'm not completely convinced that it's fixable. We'll see. They clearly took a chance on this game, which is awesome. And you have to balance the good and the bad, right? I think that, having the ball do things that you've never seen done before, well, there's a cost to that, which is, maybe it won't be 100%. I still think it's a really cool game, and I will put coins in it when I see it on location. But until I can see and play one that's 100% dialed in, probably not a game that I would buy for that reason alone, unfortunately. And the nail in the coffin, I think, for me, for X-Men, was I was playing it at Lynn's Arcade, and I hit the Sentinel in the mouth, and the ball didn't register or whatever. The ball just kind of hung out there on the mouth, and I'm like, cool, ball search will clear it. The head went down, and the ball went clunk. The ball literally fell at the bottom of the cabinet. That's just, unacceptable. So, that I know that game was a very early run game. Hopefully they don't all do that, but it makes me wonder, folks. So with that said, having sold Twilight Zone, I did have room for a game, and instead of buying a new game, maybe at some point in the future, who knows, I'll buy a new game. But in the meantime, why not get something totally, totally different? I talked earlier about how cool it is playing a game without ramps, a single level game. It's fun to play something different. There's one category of game that I have never owned before. I feel like it's a rite of passage. There's a couple of rites of passage in pinball. Another one, which I have just lived after, over a decade in the hobby. I've never broken a glass. That happened. That was very, very not fun. It was totally my fault. I use microfiber cloths when I'm removing glass from games, and it just I wasn't holding tight enough, and down it went, and smash it went. Super not fun. Glass everywhere. Really not fun to clean up. But the other rite of passage, I think, in pinball, where many owners after a while end up there, is owning an electrico-mechanical game. This is a game with no electronics whatsoever. Totally different era. So I bought a 50-year-old machine. That's right, 50, a 1974 Skyjump. This game is really, really fun. Lots of drop targets, classic Gottlieb wedge head, and this particular copy of the game was in the previous owner's basement for over 30 years. It's just amazing. He never removed the glass from it, and I went over to play it at his house, and it played great. And it's kind of crazy that over 30 years, glass had never come off it, and it still plays fine. Gottlieb, this is near the end of the electromechanical era, and Gottlieb had pretty much, ironed out. They had it down to a T. The games were very reliable, and it's a very, very fun game. So maybe expect to see a gameplay video on that at some point in the future. The last thing I'll mention for today is I am working on another temporary trade. I don't have room to buy more games, and so what I like to do is just borrow them. Temporary trade with a friend, and that way I get to play something different without necessarily having to sell, a game that would be too painful to lose. And that's a lot of the videos that you've seen over the last year on my channel have been games that I've borrowed. So I'm working on that, and who knows, during the holidays, if I have some free time, maybe I expect to see another deep dive video on one of those games. That's going to do it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and join me again next time for more pinball here on Alpha Bravo Pinball. Good night, everyone. Go play some pinball. Bye.